Three things that I hate about the idea of having a home base. Number one is maintenance. The word maintenance kind of hurts my soul, and when you own property, maintenance is one of the differences between owning and renting. I've tried to look at properties that have the least maintenance as possible, as far as just a concrete pad that you could put an RV with utility hookups and really no grass or little to areas where you would be responsible to mow the grass or trim the hedges. But even a concrete pad would have to be replaced at times. A utility pedestal, electrical pedestal, that would have to be replaced every so years. You have water lines, your RV that you're going to put on it. You know, anytime you have mechanical things or things, anytime you have things you own, there is maintenance. And maintenance is a little bit of a red flag for me. I'm making a video to document the three things that caution me and that upset me about the idea of a home base. There's some things that excite me. I think I'll make a separate video. But the three things I hate, number one being is maintenance. When you own property, there's maintenance involved. And that's a red flag. Even when I went to go see a RV lot with an RV on it, they were like undoing the steps to the RV and they needed like WD-40 on it. And he said, it's amazing. Like even a little travel trailer, he was saying it needs maintenance. So even small things, they need more maintenance than you think. The number two thing that is like a red flag in my spirit when I think about owning a home base is commitment. On average, it said you need to own a property 5 to 7 years for it to appreciate in value and to be financially worth it to own property versus renting. If you're going to get up and move every year or so or every couple years, in most instances, it's not worth it to own because when you buy and sell property, there's transaction fees. And because of all the entanglements that's involved in the transferring of property, buying and selling, for you to gain positive equity, you need to normally average have it 5 to 7 years before it starts to have positive equity. And so to buy a property, for it to be worth it, is you have to mentally commit to 5 to 7 years. Sometimes when I'm at a campground and I pay for 14 days, that's 2 weeks, I get anxious. Like, am I really going to want to be here for 14 days? Now, a little bit of it is a mental hurdle because I don't want to go away from the area. Like I'll stay in one town or two towns for a couple of weeks. And so I'm not looking to travel across the country. I'm actually going to be in that area for 2 weeks. But there's something mentally when I know I have to stay in that area, it kind of like plays with my mind. Because there may be one day like I just want to travel somewhere else, I'll come right back. So it's a mental barrier of commitment. And it's ironic because in one sense, again, I am committed to that area, but mentally I just don't want to know that I have to be committed to that area. So I kind of have to work around that in my mind. And so that's the number two thing is the level of commitment that, I'm married to a piece of property that I own. I can go away from it. I don't have to be by it, but there's something in your mind that you're committed to a certain area. The third thing, number three thing that upsets me when I think about buying a home base is obligation. Now, I use obligation because I have been looking at RV lots in Florida that have HOAs, homeowner associations. So some people hate HOAs right away. When I had a condo in New Jersey for 15 years, it was part of an HOA. I had really no problem because I stayed to myself. And as long as I see the community and the people who are in charge of overseeing the property management, as long as I don't see abuse, I'm not a stickler. I stick to myself. I don't cause drama. Some people, they're not good with others. They need to be totally isolated in the middle of nowhere. But for me, an HOA, I can deal with because that's the sacrifice of living in a populated area and being able to park an RV. Because in a populated area, especially by the beach, you're not going to find a raw piece of land that allows you to put an RV on it and live in it. You're going to usually have to have a house, and then you can put your RV next to the house. So if you don't want a HOA, you'd have to go like kind of into the middle of the country land where there's unrestricted land. You'd have more privacy. You wouldn't have to deal with the obligation of an HOA, but you would be in the middle of nowhere. So that's the give and take. So obligation with an HOA, it depends, what HOA, just like it depends what person, depends what company you work for. Every experience is different, but and generally speaking, HOA, they instruct rules to keep the community standards up to a certain standard so that you don't have some neighbors who let their property go or that start to, outlandishly renovate their property and it affects all the other property values of the other community. So like example, you have an RV lot and then someone next to you has the RV lot and they decide, to put a picture of a naked girl in front of it, and during Halloween they put like a casket, like a blood flowing out of the top, whatever. They could just be psychopaths. Now, if they were in the middle of nowhere, they could have a strip club, they could do whatever. But the community kind of keeps a standard to just prevent certain things from happening. Most time nothing will happen, but there's rules that you have to be obligated to. Now, some general rules, that was an extreme example, but it shows you there is a need for it. But some general rules would be like, the age of your RV, that, your concrete pad, if there's so many cracks in it, if it's not up to standard, then you'd have to pay to get a new RV pad paved. If you have any like palm trees or something on your property, like you keep them trimmed or pruned so that they don't infringe on your neighbor's sidewalk or whatever it may be. So all those things are fine with me, but just that oversight and that obligation, that knowing that you are not the ruling authority. Okay. That's what it means kind of to be obligated, is that you are not the final say. As a owner of a piece of property, you have a certain amount of say and you have a certain amount of authority, but also as a common community within an HOA, homeowners association, within an HOA, you are obligated to conform to general rules that have been voted on and passed by the association for the good of the community. Whether you agree or disagree, that's an obligation. Okay. So you may say, that's why I don't want an HOA. So then you go by in the middle of nowhere, you have unrestricted land, then your neighbor could buy unrestricted land next to you and they can raise chickens. And they could have chickens crowing day and night and cattle and everything else. If you ever been next to a cattle farm, it smells like dookie all day long. So here you are, you got your RV. I hate HOAs. You got all type of wild stuff outside your RV. You're sitting in your chair, saying, oh, this is great. This is my property. No homeowner association president can tell me what to do. Then all of a sudden, even it could be an acre away from you. Someone buys a piece of property. They put cattle on it. They put chickens. Now you got chickens crowing. You're smelling cow dookie all day. Why? Because they have just as much unrestricted rights as you. So they could do whatever they want with their property, and so could you. And then sometimes like that could go back and forth. And so I'm going to show them. And so no matter where you live, these are things when you own property, you can't just get up and leave. You can't say, all right, I'm going to let my lease expire next month. I'm going to only rent the campground for 2 days. And if my neighbor's a little wacky or if I don't like the community, I can leave. To buy and sell property, it usually takes 3 to 6 months to complete the transaction. It can be less or it could be more, depending on the situation and the price you want. So on average, to get in and out of the property is 3 to 6 months to buy, 3 to 6 months to sell, depending. So, that's a quarter to a half of a year wasted. And when you're looking to get in or out of a property, 3 or 4 months can feel like a lifetime. And so these things, the home ownership, maintenance number 1, commitment number 2, and obligation number 3, those are 3 things that caution me. There's downside of living on the road, just being a traveler. So I've made videos about that. So I don't want to say that home ownership or owning a home base doesn't have value. I'm going to make a video about that. But I want to say for the negatives, it's maintenance, it's commitment, and it's obligation. Something to consider. Peace and love. Stay positive. Hit that thumbs up. Thank you guys. Peace and love.